Hi guys, Tom Quayle here for Sound Effects Premiere in Ormskirk, and today I'm in my home studio and I'm checking this out. Now this is the Bliss Audio Spectre flanger pedal. Really cool pedal. This is 100% analog, but it's got a digital brain which allows you masses of control over all of the parameters in the pedal and store presets, have MIDI control, that kind of thing. Features great sounds. It can also do chorusing and vibrato as well, so it's a really wide-ranging pedal. It's got the dip switches on the top that you'll find in all of Bliss Audio's products, and that allows even finer control and some effects that are totally unique to this particular brand of pedals. So let's plug it in, check it out and see what we've got and have a listen to it. Hope you enjoy the demo, guys. Okay, so here it is, guys. This is the Bliss Spectre analog TZ flanger. So we've got mix, zero, regen, rate, width and shift. That's the ModuShape section. We can change the actual waveform. We can have sine, triangle or square at the start of the wave, and then square, triangle or sine again at the end of the wave. We've got a tap tempo and a bypass. Lots of these controls have multiple functions because of this kind of digital brain that's controlling this analog pedal. Really cool. So here's my bypass tone. I thought I'd use my color coordinated Fibonacci here, and I've got a little bit of reverb and quite a bit of delay, but you know, it's no big deal because it's the flanger that we're listening to. This is my clean tone on the neck pickup. Okay, turn the pedal on. The way I've got it set here, you can see the mix is almost all the way up, zero and regen are almost all the way down, rate is fairly high, and then the width and the shift, which I'll go through later, are kind of set as you can see. Now when I turn it on, you'll hear it basically functions like a chorus pedal. Really beautiful analog kind of chorusing going on, and that's basically because the zero and the regen are down and the width is down as well, so we can get this kind of chorusing effect. As I increase the width, we get into kind of vibrato territory. Super cool. Now before we even get into the flanging, just using the ModuShape section, we can actually change the waveform to ramp up quickly and then ramp down slowly. Hear the effect that we get in there? Wow. It's kind of like a swung feel. And you can see that reflected in the tap tempo down here. If I go the other way, again, it'll now ramp up quickly and down slowly. And then within that, if I bring that back to the central point, we can change the waveform type. So I can now have a triangle wave. So I've got triangle on either side. And then if I put them both in towards each other, we get this square wave. Super cool. Very good for rhythmic effects. Very cool indeed, and again we can increase the width so it gets even more intense. And you'll hear this shift effect again. So you can hear there we got like a swung kind of feel. So that's really cool. We could have a sine wave coming in and a square wave coming out. So masses of kind of possibilities in terms of actually shaping the waveform that you've got there, which is really cool. So if I just bring the width down again a little bit, and we'll go for sine wave on either side. Now let me show you this zero function. So basically we've got the mix all the way up. Now we'll get into kind of flanging territory. So zero through flanging or through zero flanging is really cool. It's a very nice effect. So basically we can find where the 0 point is by setting the width to 0. And there, where we sweep through, and we've almost lost the entire signal. If we now increase the width, bring some regeneration in, we start to get more kind of flange style kind of effects. So we've got bring that width down. Very cool indeed. I'm just going to set that back. Now as we change the rate so we sweep through slowly and I just play like a power chord. Hear that awesome effect where in the 0 position it's kind of, we're almost losing the signal and it's giving this beautiful kind of flanging sweep. And if we use that ModuShape, if we bring the width up, get even more intense as we actually bring that width up. Very, very cool indeed. Now, if we keep the regen high but bring the 0 down, start to get into more classic kind of flanger territory. Let's bring the rate down again and mix all the way up, and we get this. Again, here's my bypass tone just for comparison. Bring the pedal on. And if we use the square wave here, we can get some really cool rhythmic effects. Hear that? Super cool. Increase the rate. There we go. Now as we increase the regen, what's going to happen is basically the regeneration through the modulation. It's going to start giving us more air at this point with the 0 set here, basically, so we get that kind of classic airy, kind of throaty flange sound. Let's go back to a sine wave. Bring the width down. Very nice indeed. So that's with the regen all the way up. Now as we increase the 0, check out what happens with the regen control, with what's going to happen here with these kind of the feedback. Here there we're getting more into kind of classic, kind of almost jet flanger territory. And if we keep going, we can do self-oscillating, very cool whale noises. You can pretend you're in the Clangers, nice 70s British TV programme. And we can get really crazy by adjusting some of the other controls, changing the frequency. Really, really cool. Starts to almost get into sort of ring mod territory. Very, very cool indeed. Now as we back the regen off, we can start to make this slightly more musical, where we don't have the actual feedback going. Very cool effects. This is way more than just a flanger. Seriously cool. So again, if we go through that 0 point now, start to get very kind of musical, warm flanging sounds. Of course, we can use the tap tempo to really tap in the exact rate that we want for the actual modulation. Change the width as we so desire. Make that a triangle. Very nice indeed. And if we back the regen off, back into almost chorusing territory. Because of the ModuShape section, we're into chorusing territory that's got that kind of lovely rhythmic effect here. If we wanted to do different subdivisions, we could set this into the middle here. We've got 1, 2 and 4, so we can actually tap in and it'll do basically eighth notes for every quarter note that we tap. See there, it's doing eighth notes on my quarter note tap. Or we could set it to 16th notes. Now it's automatically updated. So you can get some semi kind of, if we keep the 0 high and bring the width down, find the right speed, almost kind of Leslie-ish. If we brought the mix down, there we go. So you can, if you want to, go completely crazy with this pedal and get some absolutely insane sounds. There's a dip switch on the back, by the way, that allows you to get odd subdivisions, so basically triplet-based subdivisions, so eighth note triplets, quarter note triplets, or 16th note triplets, if you so desire, against your tap. There's also some presets, so we've got 2 presets. If I switch to the right, this is preset number 1, which is indicated by the red LED. This is a preset I came up with earlier on, which has got this gorgeous sweep on it. And then preset number 2, switch over to the left, and this is a factory preset, which again is kind of almost Leslie-like, Leslie speaker, but with some cool rhythmic effects. Very, very cool indeed, and you've got that kind of classic kind of throaty flange thing going on. If you edit anything at all, you'll see this LED go slightly dull. That tells you that you've edited the preset. If you want to store the presets, it's dead easy. If you want to store in the left preset, just hold that down for 3 seconds and then press the right button. That stores it in the left. The other way around for the right preset. Hold this down for 3 seconds and press that, and you'll have a preset stored in the right section. And that's it, basically. So what I'm going to do now, basically, I'm just going to really quickly just go through these 2 things here as well. Basically, you've got an expression control via control voltages, which is just a standard expression pedal. You can assign these parameters to, well, not the mix, but you can assign any of these 5 parameters to the expression pedal using the dip switches on the top. And then you've got tap tempo or MIDI. If you've got a MIDI converter box, you can actually control this and select presets via MIDI, which is very cool, missing from a lot of very cool analog pedals. And now we'll go through the dip switches on the top. So I'm going to turn the pedal on its front so that you can actually see the dip switches. I just want to talk through those fairly quickly. So let's do that now. Okay, so here's the dip switches. These always look really complicated, but they're not really that complicated. Essentially, this side allows us to modulate parameters using the mix control, which turns into a ramp control. Now, that allows us basically to set the control where we want it to, and then we can either ramp down to the minimum control, or we can ramp up to the maximum control, basically, or from the minimum to the actual the point where the dial is set. Or we can use the bounce control to modulate up and down repeatedly, essentially. Now, polarity, I'll show you those in a second, but polarity allows us to go from negative flanging to positive flanging. Now, without explaining what that is, you'll be able to hear the difference immediately. Positive is kind of more musical. Now, positive is when we push down on the actual dip switch. Negative is when it's up. So here's negative. Okay. Here's positive. And what you'll hear is the flanging is warmer. So here's negative again. Okay, sorry about my big hand being in the way. It's kind of difficult without blocking the camera. Positive. Negative. Okay, so hopefully you can hear the difference there straight away. Now I have the bounce function on here, which means that when I actually modulate these parameters, which is 0, regen, rate, width and shift, they're actually going to bounce up and down in their values. So basically if I take, for instance, the rate, let's modulate the rate. Okay, now the rate is going to speed up and slow down, so I'm going to bypass the pedal. Here's my clean tone. Okay, I'm going to bring the rate down. Have a listen to what happens to the rate when I actually bring the pedal in now. let's use the ramp control to make the change quicker. So we're getting much more interesting rhythmic effects as the rate is being modulated. There we go, that's very cool. So you can hear there we're going from basically a nice, clean, almost chorusy kind of sound to absolute chaos by modulating that rate control. And there's an awful lot you can do with that as it bounces in between those two by fiddling with the settings as well. So if we modulate the 0 and the regen together, straight into crazy whale noises. Okay, so if I play, all kinds of crazy rhythmic effects can be had by modulating those and using the ramp control to change how fast or how slow they actually change the rate. Now we can also use the momentary bypass to actually use the bypass as a momentary style bypass. If I switch that on, I now, as I let go of the pedal, you can see it's in momentary mode. So if we increase the regen and the actual 0. Very cool. So that's a nice feature as well if you want to just apply that to single chords. And then the other side of this actually allows us to decide if we're using, say, an expression pedal, for instance, or if we're not using the bounce mode, we can choose whether we want these effects to, or the actual modulation of these parameters to ramp up and stay, or ramp down and stay at that position. So that's kind of cool. We've then got the ability to change the control method. So basically that changes basically parameters within the ramping as well. Not too much point going through that particularly specifically. The division allows us to change our tap tempo. The control, just so you know, basically will allow us to tap tempo for the actual ramp time or the actual tap tempo time. Okay, so that's kind of useful. The sweep changes basically whether the actual ramp will sweep up from the minimum to where the control is, or from the max, or from the control to the maximum, basically. Again, it all seems really complicated. Once you've read the manual and had a good fiddle, it isn't. Basically what this section allows you to do is create effects that you cannot achieve from any other effects processor on the market. So that's very, very cool. And all of these Chase Bliss audio pedals have these dip switches on. You can watch our other Sound Effects Premiere videos to check those out as well. So there it is, guys. That's the Chase Bliss Audio Spectre through zero flanger. Very cool pedal with a ton of features that you wouldn't expect to find. An analog sound with a digital brain, and even presets and MIDI built in. So very, very cool pedal indeed. So you can get it at Sound Effects Premiere. My name's Tom Quayle, and I will see you next time, guys.